This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning. Today I'm taking MySQL database administration workshop. So welcome to this session. This course gives you to understand how MySQL 8 works, how you can install and configure MySQL database, and how you can solve the issues if you are facing in MySQL database administration. So this course will give you extra weightage to your profile because these days if you know multiple databases, so you are in a good position if you are switching a job or if you want to ask increment in your existing company. So MySQL, we know that is an open source database, but it is an Oracle proprietary, and it is the second leading player in the database market. First is Oracle, and MySQL is second position. And for my introduction, I am certified professional and a trainer and mentor and speaker, blogger, YouTuber, and I have almost 25 years of experience as a trainer, and in that 14 plus year as a database consultant. So I worked as a I worked in Oracle database majorly, and then secondary skills MySQL and MS SQL. And for lab environment, we will help you to configure the MySQL environment in your laptop or desktop. And every session will be recorded and uploaded to Google Drive, and every PPT will uploaded to Google Drive. From there you can watch it, and you can make a notes from there if suppose you want to make it. And that period is up to 6 months, but if you want to extend, so you can request us, we will extend that period to access the Google Drive. And for course contents, I have added 16 topics, and in that we have subtopics, but I didn't return the subtopics because I don't want to make lengthy of my course content. And whenever course goes, we will gradually see what are the subtopics I will cover in this main topic. So first is introduction to MySQL, where I will tell you what is MySQL, which company is using MySQL, etc. And then MySQL, we have a client and server. So what are those? What is the difference between that? And then we will install MySQL on Windows platform as well as Linux platform. And then what is MySQL architecture? Some portion of MySQL architecture I will cover it today, and how to configure MySQL, how to monitor MySQL, how to manage MySQL users. So these are the topics, and then after that we will see how to create the database in MySQL, how to create the tables in MySQL, how to query the table data in MySQL, and then after that how to modify the databases, how to modify the tables, how to modify the table data. So these topics also I will cover, and then how to secure your database, and the second last, how to back up your database, and the last topic, how to recover the database if suppose any failure is occurring. So these are the topics which we do in this workshop. And let's move to my PPT. Just give me a second. I'm just opening a PPT. So here, so first is MySQL architecture. So MySQL server we have, and in that we have MySQL server process, MySQL 9 non-client programs, and MySQL client applications, and those are connected through connection layer to outside of the client applications, and client programs connect to the MySQL server process to make data requests. So this is the internal architecture of MySQL. Client server connectivity, because every database has a client and server software. If you install both on the same machine, then There is nothing is more required in configuration. But if suppose your client was on different machine, their server on different machine, so you have to install client software on one machine and server software on different machine. So this environment or this communication is not limited to environments where all computers run the same operating system, and client program can connect to the server running on the same host or on a different host, and client server communication can occur in environments where computer run different operating systems. So both can work, but better to go with same operating system. Suppose MySQL server process is running on Linux and client program running on Windows and connecting via TCP/IP. So this is the architecture of client server connectivity. And MySQL server process. So MySQL server process is basically a program which is called as MySQL D, and it runs as a single process, and that is multi-threaded. It manages access to databases on disk and memory. It supports simultaneous client connection. It supports multiple storage engine. It supports both transactional and non-transactional tables. It optimizes memory usage by using caches and buffers. So the, these are the MySQL process. Now MySQL terminology. So in that we have host, we have MySQL server software, MySQL server instance. So host basically is the physical machine on a virtual machine on which the server program runs, which includes hardware configuration, operating system, and network addresses. And MySQL software server software is basically a software program, MySQL D, with the version number and a list of features. And MySQL server instance is basically a MySQL D server process that manage a data dictionary, a data directory containing one or more schemas, and multiple instances can run on a single host. So this is the terminology of MySQL. And a server process. So server process is basically MySQL D consists of three layers. One is connection layer, second is SQL layer, and third is storage layer, and all the things connected with the application. And connection layer is the first layer which communicate to the application, and connection layer basically handles the connections, and this layer is not unique to MySQL. All server software has such a layer. For example, web, mail, LDAP servers, and SQL server layer. SQL layer actually process SQL queries that are sent by connected application. So first application will connect through connection layer, and from there it sell the statements, and that statement will execute process on SQL layer. And storage layer handles the data storage, and that storage can be different type of that. It is a disk type, it is a memory type, it is a network type. So in MySQL we have multiple storage option, and every storage has a certain features, and according to that we use storage for MySQL database. Now, how MySQL transmits the data. So MySQL is the first thing when we are talking about transmit the data. So connection layer maintain one thread per connection, and this thread handles query execution. Before a connection can begin sending SQL queries, the connection is authenticated by the username, password, and client host. So this authentication is happen in almost every type of database, whether it is a DMS database or whether it is a open database. So I'm talking about MySQL. It is an open database, and connection layer accept connection from application via different types of protocols that is TCP/IP, Unix sockets, shared memory, named pipes. So every protocol has certain features and how we can use. And MySQL 8 version supports two types of connection. One is classic protocol, one is X protocol. So we will see later what are those. So if we come to connection protocol, so here you can see that only TCP IP can happen locally and remotely, except that others protocol will work as a local. Okay, and TCP IP supports classic and X protocol, and socket file is also support classic and X protocol, but shared memory and named pipes will support only classic protocol. And as far as operating system concerned, TCP IP work for all operating system. Socket file will work for unique operating system, including Linux, BSD, Mac OS, and shared memory and named pipes are only work for Windows. So these are the some points related to MySQL protocols. So MySQL X protocol is introduced in MySQL version 5, but by default it enable in MySQL 8. Okay, earlier version you have to enable explicitly. Now local and remote connection protocol TCP/IP. So as of MySQL 8.0.4.114, in that MySQL permits a TCP/IP port to be configured specifically for administrative connection. So this provides an alternative to the single administrative connection that is permitted on the network interfaces used for ordinary connections, even when max underscore connections variable, you can say connections are already established, and the interface is available only if the admin underscore address system variable is set at startup to indicate the IP address for the administrative interface. If no value is specified in admin underscore address, the server maintains no administrative interface. So if you want administrative interface, so you have to set this underscore address variables, or you can say parameters. And connections are permitted only by users who have the service underscore connection underscore admin privileges. So there is no limit on the number of administrative connections. And MySQL server uses DNS to resolve the names of the client host that connected via TCP/IP protocol and storing them in a host cache. Okay, suppose for large networks, the exhibit performance problem during name resolution disable DNS. So with the skip name resolve option, or increase the value of the host cache size option. So this is some points related to local and connection, remote connection. Now local connection protocol in Linux, if you are using socket. So this is inter-process communication used to form one end of bidirectional communication link between two processes on the same machine, and it requires the server creates a socket file, and the socket file name is mysql.sock, and with the option we have MySQL X underscore socket. So the for MySQL Classic and X protocol respectively. So client can specify the socket file with the option dash dash socket, or we can pass only one letter, that is dash s when it connects. So this is the best connection type for Linux. And these are the examples how you can do that. So we will see practically later on. and MySQL and localhost. So MySQL supports IPv6 connection. So IPv6 protocol require operating system support. You can test operating system support in Linux by using the ping6 command for that. So we fire the command like ping6 double colon and then one. So MySQL assume that TCP protocol when you specify dash dash host equals to host name, except when the host name is localhost. So if the host name is localhost, MySQL assume you are using a Unix socket protocol, and to connect the localhost IP address, we know that localhost IP address is 127.0.0.1, or you can say double colon 1, and specify TCP explicitly if you want. So you can use the localhost option. If you want to specify localhost IP explicitly, so you can pass directly 127 .0.0.1, or you pass double colon 1. So it means we are connecting to localhost explicitly. Local connection protocols in Windows basically disabled by default both shared memory and named pipe connection protocols by default in disabled. So to enable shared memory connections, you can use the options dash dash shared dash memory option, and to enable pipe connection, you can use a dash dash enable dash named dash pipe option. And for X protocol support both the shared memory and named pipe. Windows does not support MySQL X protocol. So these two options only work for classic protocol. And SSL, that is the secure layer for TCP IP connections. When you create a user on the server, you can configure the user to use SSL connections mandatorily, and server disallows connection from such a user if the connection is not encrypted. Okay, so SSL keys we will cover in the later section when we discuss about securing MySQL. And if SSL is not available, connections are encrypted. If SSL is not supported on socket, named pipe, and shared memory connections, and MySQL client use SSL if keys are available, and MySQL package installers create SSL keys if OpenSSL is installed on the server host. Okay, so there is the utility which creates the keys, that is MySQL underscore SSL underscore RSA underscore setup. Okay, yeah, this one I was telling. Sorry. Okay, now connection threads. So when the server creates and destroy connection threads, it must allocate and deallocate memory structure used by those client connection. So there is a performance overhead associated with the activity when client connects and disconnect frequently. And the thread pool, basically the thread pool plugin is available in commercial edition of MySQL. It is designed to reduce the performance overhead of creating and destroying connection thread, and it separates the client connection from the connection thread. It limits the number of statements that execute concurrently, especially short running statement. And connection pooling can reduce the overhead for application that open many connection to a MySQL server. So these are the connection related thing. Now next thing is how MySQL process the data. So in that we know that there is a layer which is called as SQL layer. So SQL layer has many phases like parse, authenticate, optimizer, query execution, and optional is query logging. So these are the phases happen in this layer. So what are those components? So these are the one-line definition for that. So parser is basically validate the query syntax and semantic check and convert it to a standard format. And authorization verifies that whether user is have a permission to run this query and to run the query on this particular object by that he writes the query. An optimizer creates an optimal execution plan for each query, and MySQL server process, MySQL process will decide which execution plan it can use. So if suppose index is there, so it can use index, and in which order it has to process the data tables, so that it can take it from execution plan. And then query execution basically fulfill the execution plan for each query. And query logging is basically if you want to log the queries that the server receives or execute, you have the option to log in to logging of your queries. Now SQL statement processing phases. So first parse, then authorize, then optimize, then execute, and optionally if you want to log it, so you can log it also. Now how MySQL stores the data. So MySQL stores the data in third layer, that is storage layer. And in storage layer we had a different type of storage engine. So if suppose your storage is disk, then you can use InnoDB or MySAM. And if you have memory storage, then you can use memory storage engine. If you have network storage, then you can use NDB cluster storage engine. So these are the storage engine, and these are the main storage engine which is provided by MySQL. So InnoDB is the default one, and it has many features, and other engines you can use according to your requirements, but you know the features of every storage engine. So MySAM, memory, archive, black hole, merge, CSV, federated, which is disabled by default, NDB cluster, which is available in MySQL cluster distribution, and third party storage engine is also available. Okay. So storage engine function. So basically a storage engine is a low level component that take care of storing and retrieving data and can be accessed through internal MySQL API, or in some situation directly by an application. So application might use tables that use different storage engine. And SQL and storage layer interaction. So the SQL layer must process a statement before passing row operations to the storage layer. So first query comes to SQL layer, and from there it process, and then it goes to storage layer. So this means that it must pass its statement that are not supported by some storage engine, and in some cases it returns a warning if the storage layer does not support that specified operations. So for example, MySAM does not support foreign key. So for MySAM tables, the SQL layer process passes foreign key definition in the tables, but the storage layer ignores them. So for transactional operations like rollback, MySQL generates a warning when the storage engine is not transactional actually. So the server will return an error if you try to execute full text search query on a non-supported in storage engine. So you have to know that what storage engine we are using and what storage engine has the features. According to that you can use it. So suppose storage medium is our disk, memory, network, data nodes, null. So these are the storage medium. And transactional capabilities, multi-statement transaction with commit and rollback, we can do that. Isolation levels, we can do that. And locking also there. beyond table level, and multi-version concurrency control is also available. And table partitioning, earlier it was not engine specific, but from version 8 it is engine specific. And features dependent on storage engine. So these are the features where you can use it. So backup and recovery is available for InnoDB and NDB. Optimization like indexes, internal cache is also there. Referential integrity with foreign keys, full text search, spatial data. So these are the features is available. And in InnoDB we had all types of features is available, like InnoDB support B-tree index, InnoDB support backup point in time recovery, InnoDB support cluster index, InnoDB support compressed data, data caches, transparent data encryption, foreign key support, full text search index, and geospatial data type, geospatial indexing, and table partitioning, index cache, and locking, granular row level, multi concurrency control, and replication support. Storage limit is InnoDB for 64 TB per table space, and for my SAM storage 256 TB, and for memory it is depend on RAM. For archive, none. For NDB cluster it is 384 EB, and transaction is supported in InnoDB. Update statistics for data dictionary is supported in InnoDB. So these are the features which supported for InnoDB. So like that we have features which are supported for my SAM, memory, archive, and NDB cluster. So these things we will discuss later when we start the workshop. So thank you guys for joining these sessions. And if you have any questions, you can ask me, or otherwise you can later mail me or contact on my WhatsApp number, which is mentioned on the PPT screen. And yeah, so that's it from my side. So let's take the questions.